Hi, welcome to this week's lecture on conflict management. In this class, we're going to look at kind of two different topics. We're going to look at conflict management between the adult staff members, and a lot of it is going to be based on your employees or your staff members or people that you're coaching or mentoring. I would hope, we don't always like the people that work for us, and that's fine, as long as we can respect and have a good working relationship with them. Typically, you have to be the bigger person, take the higher road, working with employees and staff members. Most of the time in my professional experience, conflict has been between two people who are working in the classroom, two people who are working in the kitchen, something like that. So that's what a lot of my work today is going to be focused on. And then also kind of the unusual triad relationship of you as a supervisor, mentor, or coach, parents, and staff. Sometimes conflict arises, and my bent is less as parents as partners, because we have whole classes on that. We have whole child development classes on supporting families working with challenging behaviors. So if that's a real interest area or an area that you need to work on, please take one of those classes. It's a bit more on the management side, and what do you expect from staff as far as staying on message? How will you allow parents to talk to your staff? Those types of administration things, and less of parents as partners. Parents as partners and being respectful and having great communication is obviously tremendously important. That's why we have basically entire classes that are dedicated to understanding the child-family and child-teacher relationship. So we're going to talk about those two different parts, you helping your staff come to an agreement and you with parents and staff as well. But I do have to just caveat this whole thing that there are different personalities. There's lots of learning types, there's lots of leader types, and there's teacher developmental stages that we've gone over. So there is going to be personal issues and there are going to be conflict that arises. In the discussion board, we will talk about team building and being supportive, and an ounce of prevention is better than an ounce of cure. So getting ahead on top of this, having great workplaces where everybody wants to work, those types of things will save you in the long run with having to deal with conflict and personal issues. But at the same time, even in the most supportive workplace where you have a great mentoring, training, and coaching program, there are bound to be personal issues and conflicts. So how you handle this and your ability to handle it head on really speak to your leadership type and your actual ability, that you have the skills and ability to do this. So in the book, we'll move this down, they talk a lot about problem solving, and that's kind of how they've, let's say, rebranded or rethought of the idea of conflict resolution or conflict management. So it definitely kind of reframes it, and I like that it's reframed into something that's you can solve, problem solving, supportive. There's a problem, look at all the facets of it and we can change it. And it also diffuses some of the emotion at the heart of it. I personally, and there's no right way or wrong way to think about it, but I personally philosophically like to consider when people have issues with each other, it's a conflict. We often have negative feelings when it comes to the word conflict, but I don't think that even though it has negative connotations, it doesn't mean that we have to negate it or make that it's necessarily negative. Because there are going to be hurt feelings, disagreements, misunderstandings, and other kinds of conflicts within our workplace, because we are only human and we're all coming at a situation from our own culture, our own ethnicity or race, our own language, our own age, generational styles, teacher background, teacher stage, personality, temperament, and then all of those other things kind of are meshed within our own identity, and that's how we look at things. So in situations like that, there's bound to be a disagreement or a conflict, and I want to manage it. I want to say that it's happened and that there are emotions surrounding it, and how can we manage this and make this better? So I think we were looking at problem solving or versus conflict management, they're the same thing. We're framing it into something that can be solved. I don't like to take out the conflict. I think just a lot of times we're afraid of conflict or being assertive or talking to people about these types of things. And I don't think that we should be. It's going to happen. To think that it's not going to be happen is to be quite naive. So I do love their problem solving kind of scale that they have or steps that they have in order to look at a situation and support somebody. So first, acknowledging that a problem exists, because too often you hear somebody getting into it in the break room, or you've been hearing that two teachers are having a hard time in the infant classroom, or you see somebody fighting, yelling back and forth in the playground or on the parking lot, something like that, and you bury your head in the sand, or you look the other way, or you negate what the other person is telling you about the situation. That doesn't help anything. If there is actually a conflict or a problem, we do need to face it head on. Oftentimes, if these are left to fester, they will get worse. I think defining the issue and what is the underlying reason for the issue as well. Oftentimes, it doesn't have to do with the cleaning or the cooking or the conflict management or the cleaning schedule. It typically has to do with some kind of emotional reason, or somebody felt maligned, or somebody felt that their feelings were intentionally hurt, or that they were made to feel lesser than. So what's the issue? What's the actual conflict about? And then what is kind of the emotional basis or the background of the teachers that's making them look at a situation in completely different ways? And then investigating possible solutions. There might be a few, there might be only a couple. And then examining pros and cons. So if we do it this way, these are some of the great things that could happen, but these might be some of the vulnerable. And then make a decision of some kind. This is definitely a hopeful situation that there is some kind of decision. A lot of times, if you're allowing staff to collaborate and negotiate on a problem like this, sometimes a decision is not reached. They cannot negotiate to the point where they will make some kind of decision, and you might, as an employer, have to step in and support them or make a decision on your own. As a mentor or as a coach, you might have more of a time in order to support staff, and this might happen over many weeks and many meetings. If you are kind of out of the chain of command, you might be able to support the emotional talking through it, the examining of pros and cons, finding resources, getting second opinions, because sometimes decisions don't just happen in one meeting. In some situations with child supervision, angry parents, we do have to have a decision and we have to work on it going forward. And that might be where an employer will step in and support them in a decision that's best for the whole program. And then even if you've made a decision, it's always great to come back and say, did the decision that we make work? How can we tweak it? How can we improve it? And if we had to do this again, when we choose the same decision, or where would we do something different? So that was a lot, so I am going to kind of talk you through it because I just want to make sure that you can kind of visualize it. So acknowledging that a problem exists. So we have two teachers in the infant classroom, maybe you can't see this at the top, and they are squabbling about cleaning duties. They're talking about communication. They're talking about who gets to care for the children, who's spending too much time cleaning and not enough time with the children, who cares more about cleaning than children, that type of stuff. So we acknowledge that there is a problem with the cleaning duties in the infant classroom, and it's leading to some conflict between the teachers. In the second part, we're going to define the issue altogether with the teaching team. So maybe it's 2 to 3 teachers, getting them out of the classroom, away from the children, and hearing about the issue. Allowing time to get to the detailed and concrete issues. So there's no detail too small when you're defining the issue. This has to do with cleaning. So tell me about how you clean out the bottle warmer, who cleans up the playground area, who washes the sheets, what days do you do this, who likes to do these certain chores, who doesn't like to do certain chores. Because if you've ever worked in infant toddler care, there's a lot of cleaning, there's a lot of kind of supportive work for being with children, because children and infants and toddlers are very, very messy. There's a lot of bodily fluids. Somebody's got to clean them up. Then also personality differences and emotions between the cleaning issues. Is this just a symptom of a deeper issue between you two, and you've broken down your ability to communicate with each other? They're coming at a problem, any problem in the classroom, from 2 very different points of view. They've forgotten to respect and listen to each other. A lot of times with cleaning, it's typically coming from a place that one person feels like they're doing more than the other. And then on the other side, the person who maybe is perceived as doing less cleaning feels that they're doing more work with the children. So it's kind of a background and perspective on what's important in infant classrooms, which is quite philosophical. On one hand, there's lots of bodily fluids. They can get very dirty. Health and safety is paramount with very young children. At the same time, bonding and attachment are the building blocks for learning, and we know that's how children's brains grow, is through love and attachment. So both are equally important. One person is coming from a perspective of health and safety is the most important thing, and the other one, bonding and love are. That's a quite philosophical difference, and you have now waded into this. You have to define, understand the issue. That's why it's also great to hear from everybody about solutions that might be that might support this, and then also support an agreed upon change as well. So many solutions. So changing the cleaning duties, changing shifts so people can stay later after the children have left or come in earlier beforehand. That might be something you as an employer might have a lot of say on if you have the budget for it. If you don't, letting them know what you have the budget for and what you don't have the budget for. And then after you've had all of your solutions, what's a pro and con to changing the cleaning solution? So, you know, changing the cleaning schedule. So there's typically duties that have to be done every day. Is there no cleaning schedule? And so nobody's doing anything. So the person every night who gets stuck with all of the cleaning and is staying 10 minutes later every day is getting really upset because she'd like to go home to her own infant. What's a pro and con for not having strict duties? So maybe in a classroom they have super, super strict duties and one of the teachers is advocating for, let's just do it when it comes up. Is there any other ways that they can feel supported by others as well? Typically when you're doing pros and cons, you might also go back up to 3 and come up with solutions that are maybe a spin-off of an already solution that might be a bit more agreed upon as well. Then 5, making this decision of some kind. So hopefully the teachers, because they felt heard, and they've now been an advocate for themselves in their classroom and their perspective and their point of view, sometimes they can agree upon a change. Sometimes it'll be a negotiation where nobody gets what they want, but you get towards something everybody can agree on, but they don't necessarily leave happy about it. Sometimes there's little to no change, and as a leader team, you're going to have to make a decision on what's best for the program, best for the children, and you might have to step in like that. So some changes could be changing the cleaning duty schedule, rotating them daily, so not everybody is having to do maybe the wash and dry every day, because typically in infant and toddler programs you have a washer and dryer because you're having to clean burp rags and sheets and, you know, all those types of things that children are always getting dirty. And then maybe they felt they share their playground outside of the toddler classroom and they really feel that the toddlers are not pulling their weight. So maybe they're going to ask the next door classroom for more help in cleaning the playground so that it's easier for them to get outside with the infants. They can't go, the infants, teachers feel like they can't go outside when the toddlers have left a huge mess and there's toddler toys outside that are not appropriate for infants. So that could be another one as well. And then determine or revisit once a week until maybe it's probably resolved. So once a week during nap or once after the children have left, talking to some of the teachers and getting to know how this is going, what tweaks or changes could we make. All right, so I'm going to do some possible strategies as well to support you in these types of things. So who you are as a leader, a supervisor, a coach, a mentor, or as a manager are really going to help you understand if this strategy is best for your employees. So possible strategies could be building assertion skills, and a lot of times in these caring fields, we're not very assertive of who we are, what our program is like, or what we think is a good choice. So a lot of times conflicts can happen because we haven't asserted what the program needs, or we haven't asserted a policy or a procedure, or we haven't stuck by it. So a lot of times it's because there are small details that are undefined or unresolved. So who's going to do what on what day, who does challenging, that type of stuff. A lot of times if everybody thinks that it's not their job, then nobody's going to do it. The person who gets stuck with it, which is typically the person who closes centers at the end of the day, starts to feel resentful that these types of things happen. So another one could be, it's your day to wash your sheets. Let's say you're in a pre-K classroom. It's your turn to wash the nap sheets on Thursday after nap. But the infant room is always using it. You only have 5 minutes to, put the wash from the washer into the dryer. But if the infant room is always in there, it's impossible for you to do this. So you might talk to the infant room and remind them Thursday after nap, we wake up at 2:30. We need to get our wash going right away so that it's washed, dried, tumbled, folded, and ready to go for the next day. So between 2:30 and 4:30, we really, really need the wash and dry facilities. And then the infant room can make a note and say, okay, so nap time is when they always need it. Let's think about getting our wash earlier in the day, or if there's a blowout, because poop happens, especially in an infant classroom. If there's a blowout, letting them know about it and that you're going to do a really fast wash, or you're going to leave it you're going to do a fast wash and then maybe do the other dirtier wash after they've had a chance to put their clothes through, that type of stuff. If it's a detail that they can't change, decide how you're going to have your staff handle it. And this happens a lot with things that are out of our control. So a lot of times I've had to say, I don't know if the state or federal government's guidelines are going to change, but I know that they're going to change. As I know what's going to happen, I'm going to communicate that with you, because that can, when things are up in the air, it can be really, really stressful, especially with huge policy changes, state, federal, county, or city levels, especially that affect our funding. And I have a friend right now who's dealing with like possible layoffs within a school district. It can be really, really difficult and lead to a lot of emotions, especially if your employment's on the line, which can possibly lead to some conflict. But getting it out there and being like, I don't know what's going to happen. As I know, I'm 100% going to talk to you about it. But in this one I don't know how the state government's new law is going to change IFST. So these are our plans for children with special needs if they're under the age of 3. But I'm going to communicate with you as I hear more, and please let me know if there's an issue with sticking to your IFSPs right now in the classroom. So I am still expecting you to support children with special needs with what we have written down for them and what has been agreed upon between the school district and the child and the family with special needs. But we know that a new law might change this. As I know what's going forward, I will let you know. Possible strategies and awareness. So this one has to do with a lot of our awareness for having the capacity to mentor people. So a lot of times it's supporting staff in seeing their teaching. Do you have implicit or explicit bias against certain children or parents in your classrooms? As a teacher, is your stress level really, really getting out of control because you have a lot on your plate at home and you feel really burnt out at work? Is your cultural background giving you a certain perspective on certain families or certain teaching practices that might not be in alignment with the rest of your classroom? What teaching experiences have you had that might be supporting or hurting the situation as well? So getting to the heart of those issues as a mentor with your staff or with the people that you're mentoring. If you're a mentor or if you're trying to use some mentor techniques within your management practice, I would ask yourself a couple of questions. Is it my way or the highway? So, are you somebody who leads from the top down? Are you a pace setter? Knowing who you are, and in the situations where you have to make the ultimate decision, knowing those situations or knowing how you work is going to help you. Because typically in a mentoring situation, it's not coming from a my way or the highway point of view. Also, is this a best practice? A lot of times we get stuck in, well, this is the way we've already done it. I've always, for the last 20 years, done it that way. Well, maybe in child development, we've come up with some new research, or we've learned more about doing brain development scans with children and seeing how they grow, that we need to do something new, better, different, innovative, because it's best practice. How can you help me? I need support too. I'm a mentor to 15 proteges in the classroom. I'm super stressed out. What do I need self-care wise so that I can continue to give with these people? You can't pour from a cup if it's not been filled yourself. And then, are my expectations just right? Are they too high? Are they too low? Goldilocks and the 3 bears of expectations. In this particular situation, am I expecting way too much from my mentee? Am I not expecting enough? Or is it just right? Some other strategies would be collaborative problem solving. And I like this. In some situations, the problem solving is going to come back to you. If you are the manager, you have to make, if it's about a leaky roof, You know, you're not gonna, hey, should we put duct tape up there? Who wants to come in and fix my roof? You know, you have to say, okay, I need $20,000. I'm gonna have to trim it from a specific part of my program. I'm really sorry, guys. You know, but we're gonna have less materials for art in the summer for our camp program this year because I gotta fix this leaky roof. Like things like that, you're not going to get somebody's opinion on, but in some situations, you really can collaborate with others. And that's nice because especially in innovative programs, best practices programs, changing how you've always done something, it doesn't all rest on you. Not all of the responsibility is weighing on your shoulders. So this can really help. And when employees feel heard and they feel part of a program, that can support conflict management, problem solving. You know, when you feel that way, you're typically happier about your work. So examples of this was, okay, am I hearing correctly that you're feeling really stressed by the break schedule? You don't feel that the way and the times that you're getting a break from the schedule are giving you a good relief from the classroom. So you're feeling a bit stressed, and that when you get the breaks, it's too early in the day, and you're not getting what you need. So listen to the response. Did I hear correctly? What you thought, what I thought I heard, was that actually what the person was trying to tell me? And then offer a time to brainstorm. So you don't like that you get a break so soon after you have lunch. So you have a lunch and then an hour later somebody comes and gives you a break at 3 when you could really use the break at 4:30 when you've come back into the classroom, the children are getting a little tired, it's not time for a snack yet, some kids are leaving, some are staying. You just feel like that would be a better time for you to get out of the classroom, have a stress break, and just refresh. I bet it's really frustrating not having a break later in the day, the stress of working with the toddlers, it's more intense. I really hear that you're feeling stressed right now. Can you help me brainstorm ways that I can give you a break in a different way, or ways that I can help you manage your stress so you can continue to be the great, awesome teacher that I know you are for our little ones? So maybe I have ideas of what I can do. Maybe a 4:30 break is just out of the question. Maybe it's not, but listening to them, hearing them, and then allowing them to tell me ways that they can manage their stress or ways that they need breaks can help us possibly get to a solution. So these possible strategies are kind of based a lot on the coach-mentor mindset. So once again, the coach and mentor can oftentimes be different than what an employer needs to do. But I think that everybody, regardless of your position, can use best practices to support staff and let them know that they are heard, supported, and part of the team. Also, as a supervisor and employer, you do have to make larger and far-reaching decisions about duties. Not everybody can work from 7 to 4. Everybody loves that shift, but you need somebody who's going to work 9 to 6 because that's when your center is open. So it's good that you can hear and to help, but you also have a larger responsibility to your program, to your families, and to your children as well. So we're going to talk about conflict in families, kind of a triad relationship. And I definitely think it's a tightrope because these are working relationships. And in these working relationships, we often really develop strong bonds with our families. Even as managers, employers, mentors, anything like that, we typically have close bonds with the children and families. But at the same time, it's a working relationship. They pay us, or they're in a state subsidy program. So in some way, we get paid for providing childcare. You most likely have a child care contract. You get this many hours and you pay me this much money. So it can be difficult because there's a social emotional bond that you have, but there's also, you got to get enough money to keep the lights on. I think the greatest thing is having an orientation for families that includes the parent handbook that sets up the family for success. So you did the flip book, and that would be really easy to also turn into a very easy parent handbook as well. What's the most important thing? So hand washing, daily health checks, holidays, birthdays, what are like the biggest things that on a daily basis you need to know, your parents need to know? You can always give them other paperwork or reinforce it verbally, but that flip book might help them really, really get the biggest things about your program. I also always have a conduct policy for my parents. My parents are allowed to be upset. They're allowed to be angry. They're allowed to express their emotions, but they are never to be disrespectful or rude to me and my staff. So I know that this is your child and it's the most important thing in your life. But if I've done something wrong, I want to know about it, and I want to know about it as soon as possible so that I can help you fix it. but you're never allowed to be rude or disrespectful. And I have a conduct policy, and every single person has to sign that before they can enroll the children in my program. Because I need to support my staff. They need to build relationships, but I'm not going to let them be hurt by a parent or a teacher. I'm not going to let them be rude to them. And also vice versa, I'm not going to let my staff be rude to the parents or the children as well. So there's kind of a duality in that I'm protecting my parents and I'm protecting my teachers. Nobody can have disrespect in our kind of relationships that we're building with each other. Also, if you prioritize family engagement, that can also support the program and support child education, which once again is like an ounce of prevention versus a pound of cure. Getting out in front of it, having good relationships from a management point of view will also help. So I do like the idea of NIAC. Once again, we've got our NIAC reciprocal relationships. And I love this. So I took it out: mutual respect, cooperation, and shared responsibility. So that mutual respect is the biggest thing. No, cursing in my room because your kid got bit. I'm so sorry. And we're going to work through the biting, but you're not allowed to curse in the classroom because you were upset about it. Cooperation and shared responsibility. So that was actually, that's part of NIAC, but I took it out and I put it in one of my parent handbooks, and it was part of my parent conduct policy. And I just stressed the importance of us working together for the betterment of your child. NIAC also has really great information for management on staff, just in general for setting up programs, respect, strengthening families. They're a great resource. If you go to the National Association for the Education of Young Children, or NIAC.com, it's got great information. I think with teacher-family relationships, first of all, a handbook and paperwork is so important, but it has to actually be something that they see in the classroom. So you can have on paper the most best practices, policy, and early childhood education philosophy and mission statement in the whole wide world. But if it's not actually happening on a daily basis in your classroom, then it's for naught. It has to be supported by what the parents actually see in the classroom. So I can talk till I'm blue in the face about a daily health check and why they're so important, but if my staff isn't getting down and checking the child for visible signs of illness and telling the parents to go home when the child is sick, then that health policy that I've written means nothing. I call it being on brand, and I don't mean like Nike brand, Apple brand, anything like that. It's just there's a consistency between the policy message and the message that the family receives in the classroom. So they're echoed in the classroom, and the professionalism that they see in me, they also see that professionalism in the staff as well. Also, you have to strengthen the teacher-family relationships. So day-to-day communication, I think verbal is best. You have to come and talk to me. You have to sign out with me. I have to tell you what a fantastic day your child did, or they're walking so strongly now. I can't believe they took their first step 2 weeks ago with you, and now they're like running across the classroom, and these are the things that they ate. So verbal is great. The apps are great. Brightwheel, Indeed, Dojo, Class Dojo. There's great apps, and parents love them. I have them for one of my daughters as well. I love seeing pictures of her at assemblies and field trips and just daily work that maybe the teacher thought was fantastic. Then there's emails, there's typically written newsletters, there's bulletin boards, the write-up, typically there's like a write-up about your child's day when they're really young as well, because if your baby's 8 or 9 weeks old, a lot has gone on, a lot of ounces of breast milk have been drunk, all of that type of stuff. Then communication of the negative aspects, and I mean negative in like parents might, what do I need to know? And I don't mean it in negative. Don't be afraid to tell me. I would always tell people, but I want to know as soon as possible. So if a child has some challenging behaviors, or you have concerns that they have a special need, or parents are being inappropriate, or parents are being rude and disrespectful, let me know so that I can help you. Because a teacher can only go so far with a rude parent. They need you above them to support them, and take the parent off to the side and say, I know you were really upset about that, but you will not speak to my staff like that. I think that really goes a long way. I didn't have that when I was first coming up as a teacher. I did not feel supported. I had parents talk to me in really negative and inappropriate and almost sexual harassment ways. And then one time I did have a director who did that, who supported me and saw a parent treat me inappropriately and stepped in and set down a line, and the parent never crossed it again. And we had a good relationship. with that parent going forward, because the boundary had been set. The parent was still treated with kindness and respect, but I was also stopped from somebody taking advantage of me. So a lot of times we have to stop our parents from doing that to our teachers. And then for a lot of our families, we need to be a support system. We need to link them with social services. We need to tell them about the behavior support group for their kids. Maybe they have a substance abuse issue and they need to be in an outpatient care. Maybe they need a class on appropriate discipline. Maybe they have postpartum depression and they need to go to a depression support group. We typically have and can get our hands on a lot of social support services. We can support families who might be really, really struggling, which is going to help them be a better parent and also kind of strengthen those relationships. And then conferences, talking about their child, what they're doing, meetings and parent groups, which I think are, once again, an ounce of prevention type thing. But what does management and how does a manager kind of support parent-family relationships? I think there's two ways. From top down, we write and then enforce our policies and our brand, whatever it is. I talked about the daily health check. I've written a great one, but my teachers aren't doing it. So I'm going to train my teachers. We're going to have staff meetings devoted to this as long as it takes, so that every single day you are doing the daily health check and not letting children come in who have green boogers and are sneezing over everybody or just stopped vomiting in the car or, those types of things. We can't let children into our programs when they're like that. It's bad for us. It gets us sick. It gets the other children sick. It will get us in trouble with licensing boards because we're allowing health and safety standards to be compromised. So we have to get our teachers and we have to train them in the importance of it so that the policy and what's going on in the classroom are the same and are on brand again. And then bottom up, so what are the teachers saying about the family? So maybe the family, the community is struggling in a specific area and they need help from you on getting people into depression groups or setting positive boundaries with kids. Then what do teachers need with specific families? If there was an incident and you need to call the parent or you need to have a conference or a meeting, what do you need to do to support the family? And this is typically going to happen from boots on the ground, from the teachers telling you, this is where I'm struggling, this is where our families are struggling. And then management and family relationships. So you as a manager, mentor, coach are going to have a different relationship with the family. You don't provide the day-to-day care very often. So it's going to depend on the needs of the family, the structure of your program, and the personality of you as a director as well. But a lot of it, once again, is protecting and supporting that staff, not allowing them to be spoken to rudely or be disrespected. Sometimes the customer is not always right, and we can gently, politely, and respectfully change their ideas, either their ideas about children or ideas about what programs should or should not do. So you need to set the lead, you need to follow, you need to set the tone, you need to have everybody follow you and lead by example with big issues like this. FaceTime, and I don't mean like on your cell phone. I just mean that the families see your face. You are not some person up in an ivory castle in your office and you never come out. They want to see you. They want to see you walking through the classroom. They want to see you talking to the kids. They want to see you bringing in bags of materials for the kids. All different types of things. They want to see your face. The more that they see you, the more that they're willing to come to you and talk to you before a problem gets blown out of control. Walking through a center every day, multiple times a day, allows management to also monitor that teacher and families are doing well, that they're both mutually respecting each other. Anticipate problems that you might see happening. So maybe a child's showing some signs of being on the autism spectrum. How can you kind of support the family through this process? Maybe identify difficult or more challenging families and children who need more social support from us, need more support just in general to support their own children. And then identify areas, once again, like the daily health check, that teachers need to be trained in because it's not your policy and it's not staying on brand. Another ounce of prevention thing that I'm very, very a proponent of is home support programs. I used to be, when I used to do in-home early intervention for children with special needs in San Diego County. So I am a gigantic proponent of home visiting programs. We have some for prenatal moms, so people who are moms to be or families to be, understanding the importance of prenatal care, taking care of baby, changes that might happen to the family. But they'll do special needs, they'll do prenatal, underserved families, families that are at risk, Typically, they'll have home activities to support the bond between families and child. So I love those. Not every program can have them, but sometimes, even if your program doesn't do it, you can partner with other programs who do. Another way to kind of support the home, support the family, which will in turn help you with conflict because you have families that are better able to handle situations, be emotionally literate and communicate, or just are not having as much stress with their children, can be a family resource center or a lending library, those little free libraries. We've had them in classrooms or in our centers. You can take any of the books or you borrow them and you bring them back. Parent education classes are typically offered at most community centers. A lot of community centers will come to your site and they will also do them there. If you have a free space, like a multipurpose room or a gym, they'd be more than happy to use your space and provide their services to the community. And then fun ways to support the community as well. Fun fairs, it helps with enrollment, it helps with getting people, especially if you're dependent on private enrollment funds, having free events like that or participating in events like that can bring some marketing to your program, and it can also support your community and the families in your community as well. So I like workshops as well. Parents love workshops, and this helps me in some ways. So if you ever have to do an assessment like the ASQ, so the ages and stages, or you have to do DRDPs or something like that where you kind of need a bit of information from the families, build that into your parent workshop because they're all there, and then you can grab them and be like, we're all gonna do this right now, yay! And then have like a lot of candy and soda and things like that to keep people awake while they're doing these assessments, but you have them in a captive audience and you're not running around all over the center trying to track down these children. Typically though, I start off with like super fun, like art and creativity, hands-on, they love it, super market it, get everybody there, and then make it so much fun. And then usually a make and take, so they take like a box of crayons, or they take shaving cream and or they learn how to make slime. Kids love slime. Slime's so gross, but kids love it. Teach them how to make it, take them with it. Parents love that. And then they're like, yes, this is fun. This isn't all boring. I'm going to come along. Then the next one, you hit health and wellness. You can typically get CVS or Rite Aid to come out and give flu shots, which is fantastic. Stop everybody from getting sick. Love my flu shot every year. And then just health and wellness, washing hands. You know, I always do that really like that. It's very cliched, but most parents haven't seen it, where you put that special cream on their hands and then you have them touch things all over the classroom, and then you take the black light out and you show, and then the parents see when somebody sneezes and then touches everything and don't wash their hands, then the germ is everywhere. And parents are always like, ew, gross, because they haven't seen it a million times like I have. Once they see that, then they kind of buy more into washing their hands and the importance of flu shots. November, STEM, I always do STEM. They love science, technology, engineering, math. We'll do Lego STEM. We'll do, I have a friend who made a ratapult. It's a catapult that flings big plastic rats. And we talk about the science and the technology and the engineering behind the ratapult. The kids try to make a simpler one, and then we fling it around the playground. The parents love it. The kids adore it. They run after giant rats, plastic rats. So it's a fun thing. Once again, December, winter celebrations, we typically make very non-denominational snow globes made out of baby food containers. January, new year, new relationships, talking about positive behaviors, positive reinforcement for families. So you may be struggling with your kids, routines, that type of stuff. You can always get a partner to come in, typically from like a social emotional literacy place, and they can talk about that. February, instead of doing Valentine's Day, we talk about friendships, peer grouping, social emotional development again. March is where I slam them. I'm like, I need an assessment, you need to complete it, sit down, eat a cookie, finish it. Not so fun, but it's something that I really need to have done, maybe for the policy of my paper. Then April, another one my teachers love, my teachers and the parents love, is responsible media and tech use. So what screen time, when is it too much, what are apps that can help? When should you limit it? What are problems with gaming? Parents love that. They like having some guidelines and some information on supporting tech time or limiting screen time. And then May and June or something like that is a summer family barbecue. One time we had somebody come out and give all the kids pony rides, and we just grilled a bunch of hot dogs. Once again, really fun and supportive of your community, supportive of team building, supportive of kind of getting rid of the conflict and supporting families so that you're having less conflicts. So in conclusion, supporting families and staff can be really, really difficult, but also keep in mind, we do this for the children. So what's best for the children of the program, and how can you listen and support the adults who work with children, and then help you, by listening to them, make the best decisions for the children and the families that you serve. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys online.